Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes podcast. I'm Bert Lepore. He's Samuel Monte Carlo. We're hanging here with Angry Mike D, and we talk about music, movies, and so much more.
All right, we're back. Another episode, Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes, episode 49. This one we're going to review. We're going to rank all 10 Metallica studio records since it's the 30th anniversary of the Black Album, and there's like all this Metallica stuff coming out, which actually by the time this airs, will be out. The mega 30th anniversary reissue, and they have this 52 song like
Crazy.
Black Album, like tribute record. It's all donated to charity. But one thing, man, whenever they put out, whenever like a 30th anniversary comes up, they always reissue the album, and it's like incredible packaging. There's a lot, the records sound better. You get a lot of bonus stuff. I mean, they really give you the bang for your buck.
Are you talking about Metallica?
Yeah. It seems like they do, not that they do everything right, but they just know how to please their fans. And
Absolutely.
And Bert, you mentioned this, like, even the worst album isn't a bad album.
No.
I mean, whether you like it or not, I mean, when you really listen to the songs and everything, it's really, I was reviewing some of the stuff, I haven't listened to in a while, like the Load records, and they're probably, as we'll review the list, but look, they're like my least favorites, but they're not bad,
No, not at all.
They're actually better than I thought.
Yep.
Than how I originally remembered them. But
yep. Like Dave said, even the 10th place is still decent. I mean, Metallica, we're a little harder on Metallica because they're just so great. It's just like,
yeah, but you know what? I think we as fans and people in general are like that, because when a band puts raises the bar at a certain level, you kind of expect that within a certain reach. So when they put out something, I mean, I don't even consider that Lulu Metallica.
No, I don't consider
so we didn't
that was a favor.
Yeah, that was a collaboration record.
Yeah.
And that was just like an art record, or just
It was more Lou Reed. It was.
Yeah, it was. I think it was more like a respect to him. Maybe he wanted to.
Yeah, I think so.
And they were like, okay, this
could be fun, something different.
Yeah, but
yep. All right, so we're going to start the ranking here. Number 10, Saint Anger, 2003. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, this is. I was really looking forward to this when it came out, because I remember there was a lot of hype and everything, and there was a lot of talk saying that they're gonna go back to sort of like their old style and everything. And I was kind of getting tired of like the Loads, and then they did all the other stuff in between this record. So I was really looking forward to it, and it definitely is sort of like a throwback, not a throwback, but it is kind of like them trying to get back to their old style, a bit, but it didn't really hit the mark, and just like the overall sound of the record was really not that great. It definitely it has like new metal elements to it, with some older Metallica thrown in there, but it was definitely like a pretty decent effort. If the drum sound actually in general was it was as bad, but if they would have produced drums better, it definitely would have been a more appealing record, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, deservingly, we put it at number 10.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely. Mike D, what do you think? Saint Anger.
Yeah, man. I think Dame pretty much said it all right there. But it's weird. And listening to it years later, it's like I almost wish they would go back and just remix it, redo it, whatever, because the songs on this album are just awesome. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of
it's
potential.
it's a shame. It's sad. Like, and I don't like when bands go back and I want to redo this because it's my song. I want to make it better. Or it's my movie. I want to make it better, like what Star Wars did. But with this, it's like it's not a masterpiece. This is just like unfinished work right here, and I think it needs to be finished.
Yeah,
it might not be number 10.
Yep. For me, Saint Anger, the songs are decent. It's really kind of hard to listen to because the production is way too raw. It's too raw. It sounds like a demo. It sounds like stuff that we would hand each other before we record it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really raw. It's the worst drum sound ever by one of the greatest producers ever. So it was done on purpose because Bob Rock don't sound like this. It was done on purpose.
Well, we know just from the previous albums that he did with them.
So I would love to hear this with Bob Rock doing it the way he would do it, like the whole record.
You know what? If they're trying to go for or capture like that whole new metal thing, they should have just got the dude who produces the Slipknot records. I mean, they should have totally went that direction.
Yeah, that would work. Because their stuff sounds great. Yeah. I think if they would have did it, if they would have kept the idea of what they wanted to do, but have Bob Rock still produce it the way he produces, it probably would have been huge. And for me, the standout track on the song is Saint Anger. It is a great song. Great song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really is. All right, guys, moving into number 9, Reload, 1987. It came out. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, I mean, I think deservingly so. It is in that spot. You could have flipped either of the Load albums. I kind of think this is in its proper place. But after revisiting it, it's like, man, you know what? Some of these songs are actually pretty decent. It sounds, on the Load and Reload records, they kind of have more of a, definitely more of a hard rock sound.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the big, heavy, like metallic sounding guitar tone. It's more of like a bluesy. It's more like a bluesy sound, almost like Motley Crue type sound or something. You know what I mean? But there's some pretty good songs on the record. Actually, Devil's Dance, I totally forgot about that one. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty cool tune. But man, it's like I remember hearing every one of these songs on the radio.
Ain't that crazy? Yeah. Ain't that crazy? For an album that we didn't think was that good, it got a hell of a lot of airplay. It did well.
Yeah.
Mike D, what do you got on Reload?
Look, man, when Load and Reload came out, it was kind of like it was a shock in a certain sense because it didn't sound like Metallica music wise, like, and even like James was kind of singing more in it, and it was like, man, this is where this band went. And I never listened to those albums again. I put them on a shelf, and that was it. But you can't escape it. You hear it on the radio, and I don't know. I went back to it while we were doing these this list here. Man, I'm going to say, you know what? It's not the Metallica we grew up with, but it's friggin' good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say right now, Metallica, I don't think actually did a really bad album.
No.
So by saying this is number 9, it sounds like it's bad, but it's not a bad thing.
No.
It probably could have been an average band's best album.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Like we were saying, even bad Metallica is better than most. But we judge them on such a high level that even their okay stuff is still unbelievable.
But listen to the way they play, though, man. It's like this is like you hear this stuff and you're like, wow, these guys are musicians. They're just not some thrash act.
No,
there's some neat stuff going on there.
There's a lot of cool parts, and there's a lot of good songs. If Saint Anger was underproduced, Load and Reload was overproduced. If that makes any sense,
Yeah.
Still good. James sounds great, man. I mean, his voice, as far as singing, got so much better as it went along.
Mm-hmm.
Standout tracks. I love The Memory Remains. I love that song. And the wild, what's that? Where the Wild Things Are. That's another one I really like. That's a neat song. Little Alice in Chains in there.
Yeah.
Reload. Way better than I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than I remember it. Okay, guys, moving on to number 8. Came out in 1996. Load. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, I was really, really, really looking forward to this, and everything was a bit of a shock and disappointment. Everything from the how they looked, they all chopped their hair off. They all like started wearing nail polish and eyeliner, and that they weren't about any
It wasn't
of that stuff. But you
Metallica.
know what? They could have done anything, and which they did. And
Yo, Dame, it was like, I'm rich, bitch.
yeah, I mean, I looked it up. It's still sold 5 million records. So it's like, but just song wise, every tune is pretty damn good. I mean, my favorite being King Nothing, I really liked. 2x4 was cool. This first single, Until It Sleeps, man, is probably my least favorite. Definitely
I
not
dug
a
that
good
one
first.
for some reason. Should have been the first release, but
yeah, it definitely shouldn't have been. Like King Nothing would have been a good first first track, but yeah, never really. I remember I bought the CD single of that because it came out before the record, and I was like, oh man, this is not really what I wanted to hear.
Right.
But thank God the rest of the record, was great.
Yep. Mike D, what do you got on load?
Yeah, I hated this when it came out. Absolutely hated. I hated it so much that I traded this CD for Kiss Unplugged.
There you go.
Which I hated too. I'll say, you know what? Years later, I think I listened to that CD too again, and I'm like, the Kiss Unplugged's pretty good.
Yeah.
But back then, I'm like, oh, this is friggin' bad. This is bad. But again, man, like this was another one. I listened to this again, just brushing up on it because this was one I haven't listened to since it probably came out. And a lot of the songs that turned me off of this album, like, wow, this is pretty friggin' good. Like I hated The House of Jack Bill. I listened to it, I'm like, wow, I want to listen to it again. So it's weird how, what is it, like 30 years later now? It's like the album just is like, it actually sounds fresh.
Yeah.
And again, one of their worst albums, but could be another band's best.
Yep. Right. For me, Load, it's still pretty good. When it first came out, I remember picking it up, and like Dame said, they didn't look like Metallica. There was some odd shit going on. It was a thick booklet. Do you remember the booklet?
Yeah.
It was a pretty thick booklet. It was like I guess, they're really making money now.
What's the cover? Is that true? That's supposed to be like for semen and blood?
I think so.
It's semen and blood. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who the artist was, but it could have been any jerk off.
Literally.
Yeah.
Fits the title.
Like we were saying, it's not bad listening back to it. It's way better than I remember. There's a lot of cool music. James' vocal sounds really good. It's as an artist, we say this all the time. You can't, unless you're maybe Slayer and AC/DC, you can't keep doing the same thing. People branch out, and sometimes it's a mishap for somebody, but it might be something they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's even some, I don't know if Mama says on this one, but it's like, it's like kind of country sound, and kind of like, I mean, shit, I give them credit for going for something different, and it's still good. Yeah. It don't sound like the Metallica we grew up and loved, but it's still good songs, good songwriting. The production was good. Same thing as, it's just a little too produced. What I would like to do is I would love to, like we did with Use Your Illusion, take Load and take Reload. We could probably pick a 10-song great record between both of those. We really could.
Yeah.
I think they should have combined it. Too many songs. One had like 14, one had 12 tracks.
Yeah.
Too many tracks, man. I think
it's like almost 80 minutes long.
As much as there was a big layoff between the Black Album and that. I mean, they
toured so much.
They toured like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, they did a lot of touring.
Album, and obviously they needed a break, but there was a big gap between two. So I guess they felt like they needed to give the fans plenty of music.
Yeah. What's weird? It's like, as a fan, when I was younger, I wanted everything I could get. I want more and more and more. Oh, there's more tracks. Great. I think now as I get older, you could hit me with 8 or 10 tracks. And if you have, and I'd rather have it once a year than get hit with 15 tracks and not come out with something in 3 years. It's just too much at once. I'd rather you sprinkle it out.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean, if you got 5 left over, cool. Just put an album out earlier. Don't wait 5 years to put it out on the record.
That's why with like Iron Maiden, it's like you got 8 to 9 songs. back then. Now you're getting,
Yeah.
you might be getting like 15 now, 3 albums worth.
Yeah.
You know,
What are long
And they're
songs now?
10 minutes long.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Load's better than I remember it. I respect it way more now. But you're right, Damon. You said you heard all them songs on the radio. Hero of the Day was on the radio. What else was on that record? Until It Sleeps, which shouldn't have probably been the first single. That was a weird first single, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's just King Nothing was on that one, right? King Nothing was on it, and King Nothing probably should have been the first release.
Yeah,
you know, because it kind of has that Enter Sandman thing going on somewhere in it. Yeah, so Load, number 8. All right, guys, moving on to number 7. In 2008, Death Magnetic. What you got, Damo?
Yeah, this was definitely a step into the right direction. You could definitely see, like, from Saint Anger, you could see the progression, them trying to get back to their roots. And they changed producers. They went with Rick Rubin, who I just listened to an interview with him recently, and basically what he said was that he wanted them to get back to their roots. So he made them listen to Master of Puppets to try to capture that feel, you know, and try to put them back into that mindset. And you know, it's not as, you know, good as you know, the original 4, you know, records from their, you know, from their 80s when they first came out, but it's definitely back to that old style. There's some double bass playing. The songs are longer. I mean, every song is not. It wasn't even really a single. You know, they weren't writing singles. They were just writing like.
It was like back the way they were
just like
before.
how they did back in the old days. Yeah.
Yep. Mike D, what you got on Death Magnetic?
Yeah, man, this one kind of was a surprise for me. This one kind of like blew my mind how good it was. And again, even putting this one that low here, it doesn't do it that much justice. But I mean, I think it's a really good album.
Yeah.
Yep. For me, Death Magnetic is like Saint Anger with better production. You know, it's where it's where I think they should have went. It's a pretty good album. It went back to getting all thrashy again, which was kind of cool. I like the record. The vocal mix is not there yet. The vocal mix is still a little too loud and too raw, I think, but it's really, really good. It's a little too in front, and it's like a lot of these guys who mix now, I guess, you know, mixing goes through, I guess, stages. That's how they mix in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It all had like its own thing. And right now, everything today is up in your face. All the vocals are sitting right at you. Which
James, he always did that, though, I think.
No way.
You don't think
way.
so? I think all his stuff, he was kind of out.
No. He was lower in the mix, usually.
Like, I think the Black Album, he was loud. I think in Justice, he was loud.
It's sitting on top. The first 2 records, of course, he was kind of buried a little bit, and it's too much. It's way too in front. He don't have that voice to be that in front. You got to put him in like he's an instrument, you know. But anyway, yeah, it's just a little too in front. Great record though. I mean, really, really good. I love the song "Broken, Beaten, Scarred." I like that. All Nightmare Long. I mean, it's really, really a good record. They're almost there, and I think with the next one they got there. So let's move on to number 6, guys. Hardwired to Self-Destruct, 2016. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, to me, this was the best record they put out since the Black Album. I actually thought it was a great blend of the early stuff meets the Black Album with some modern influences in there. Man, the record sounded great. I mean, there's a ton of songs on here I like. My favorite, "Spit at the Bone," man. That is just like that tune is just like furious, man. That might be one of the heaviest tracks ever. You know, I mean, I listen to that, man. I just want to like freaking get my car and do like demolition derby or something. You know? But yeah, some great tunes. The lead off track, title track, Hardwired, Atlas Rise, great. Moth into Flame. I mean, just great record.
Yeah, man. Totally agree with this one. Mike D, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
There's not much more I could say about it, but yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah. It's like, I got it written down here, and Dame said it pretty much. It's a great blend of old Metallica and new Metallica. They found that medium. Like this record could have came out between Injustice and the Black Album, and it would have fit. It's got that. It's commercial enough, but it's not too commercial. It's heavy enough, but it's not too heavy, and the production's great. It's the better production than Death Magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a step up. The vocals are in a good spot. It's not too loud. The mix is right. They have the right sound. And I don't know how you say the guy's name. Fiddleman, is that the producer? Greg Fiddleman?
Greg Fiddleman, yeah.
Yeah, him, James, and Lars produced it, and I think it's perfect. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
Some of the standout tracks for me, Atlas Rise. Oh my God. I think that and Hardwire were the first two I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, both of them were like just really, really good. I like Halo on Fire. I thought that was really, really good. Spit Out the Bone. I mean, really, really, really good record. The album cover looks cool. I'm looking forward to the next Metallica. I think they finally found that medium of doing both, and it still sounds like them. I mean, I'm telling you, the album right between Injustice and Black, it could fit totally right in there.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds great, man.
Yeah, I think it could be like right in the middle.
Yeah.
I think for their next album, they're going to go to the 90s, and they're going to do a rap album.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
Papa Het.
Yeah.
All right, guys, moving on to number 5. Their debut record came out in 1983, Kill 'Em All. What you got, Damo?
Yeah, this is a classic album. It spurned a whole new genre of music, in metal. And just a lot of classic songs. Really raw sounding record. But it definitely really captured them at that point. I felt like, it was they sound young. James sounds like a kid saying
it sounds crazy listening to it now.
It seems like he was just trying to like start to figure everything out, but
they had to be their early 20s, maybe.
Yeah,
probably. I would say 20, 21, maybe.
Yeah, they were
definitely
kids.
In that age. Yeah.
Yeah.
But classic.
You could hear they could play though too. I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mike D, what you got on Kill 'Em All?
I haven't heard this album in years, and I remember it like back in the day. It was like really heavy. I was like, I wasn't too big on it. Going back and listening to this one, man, this was it was pretty exciting. It was. It's funny because you hear stuff like this, and it's like, you know what? It's not as heavy as I remember it.
Right. Compared to everything.
And back then, it was like, oh my God, this is something like
it was
you're banging your head against the wall music. Like it's. But now it's like this could all be played on the radio.
Oh yeah. Kill 'Em All. It was the beginning of it. It was really, it's a great debut record. It's got a lot of great songs on it. It was a great alternative to all the sugary pop shit that was going on at the time. So if you liked heavy stuff, this was like the next heavy. If you were an Iron Maiden fan, you went to the next level and you were like in the Metallica. It was like the next progression.
Yeah, it was the heaviest thing out at the time.
Oh yeah, man.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it might have been, maybe Venom and that stuff.
And it's crazy. You could really hear the influence from Motorhead.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you really hear it. Even James' voice sometimes. And like I said, I love Motorhead now. I didn't really get into Motorhead till the 90s probably, and I had to go backtrack because to me it was old men. And it wasn't really, but it felt like it,
You know what though? I mean, Motorhead had a lot of like different sounding stuff too, man. And they kind of had like,
they took chances.
It wasn't all like heavy in your face stuff. They did some kind of like spacey stuff and groovy kind of like bluesy stuff.
Yep.
And like they weren't just like a heavy band. They were another band that played and you don't realize how good they were.
There was no tag on Motorhead. Like Dame, what was the saying for Motorhead? You know the saying? What they used to come out with Lemmy?
We are Motorhead.
And we play rock and roll. That was the line, right?
Yeah.
He never considered it metal or whatever. He plays rock and roll.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a great tag for him because there's no tag really. It's just general.
It is. I mean, they were rock and roll, just like really, but like way faster and louder.
Yeah. And there was no rules.
Yeah.
If Lemmy felt like doing a bluesy thing, doing a cover of Louie Louie, they just did it. They didn't care.
Yeah.
What's great too about Metallica? Like they did it all with no MTV, no radio play.
Yeah, dude, there
And-
was a huge tape
Mhm.
trading, and we were all kids when that was going on.
I was too young for this. I was like 9
Yeah.
years old when this came out.
I was
So,
I was the prime age.
Yeah, it was all
Yeah.
word of mouth. Yeah.
Yep. By the time I seen them at the Monsters of Rock, it was just tape trading, and who had bootlegs of them in concert, and you never ever heard them on the radio ever.
No,
But
not at all.
everybody knew them. You went, when I went to the Monsters of Rock for my first show, man, everybody was there for fucking Metallica. It was crazy, and they went on second. It was crazy. It was really wild.
I'm amazed I've never seen them live.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah.
So good. So good. Standout tracks for me for Kill 'Em All, Seek and Destroy, and Whiplash, but there's a whole hell of a lot more on there that's really, really good.
Yeah, Phantom Lord.
Phantom
One of
Lord's
my
a good
favorites.
one.
And actually, that's probably, man, I could hear Motorhead doing that song.
Oh, yeah,
It
there's
sounds
so
like a
influenced so much.
Motorhead
by that.
song. Yeah.
Yeah, Metal Militia.
Yeah.
I love his voice. He sounds so young now,
Yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I actually don't like them doing that stuff now because it just doesn't sound.
It
right.
don't fit.
No.
Yeah. It's all the early angst.
Yeah.
All right, guys, moving on to number 4. It came out in 1984. Ride the Lightning. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, their second record. You could definitely see the progression starting to get a little more refined. The record sounds a lot better than the debut, and the songwriting is just a lot better.
Yeah,
in just a short period of time. But first one with Fleming Rasmussen.
That's how I was wondering how you said his name.
Yeah. He did this one, Master Puppets, and Justice for All, and then I don't know what the hell he's done since. But yeah, my favorite tune, great opener, Fight Fire with Fire, man.
That's a good one.
That's another one you just want to get in the car and play Demolition Derby.
Fight fire with fire.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yep. Mike D, what do you got on Ride the Lightning?
And this is probably one of my least listened to albums of them too.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, when I listened to it again, it was all new to me, a lot of it. So, I mean, it's funny because I think I like the first one better, but this is just great.
It's close.
Yeah,
They're all close up the
you
top.
could you could see how they mature with each album. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the progression they went to. I mean, you could even see it was going to happen back then, even though they were young. It was you can't stay the same. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Look at even like Judas. Like actually, it's funny because Judas Priest actually went the opposite way.
Yeah.
Where they went heavier at the end of their careers.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
really did. And that it is the opposite. The only other band that went that way at the time when they had they had Sebastian Bach one was Skid Row. Skid Row went heavier with each album. You were like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. For me, Ride the Lightning, another great record. Man, there's just so many awesome songs on this. It's really close between this and Kill 'Em All, but I think the okay songs are better on Kill 'Em All, but the great songs are really great on Ride the Lightning, like For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, Creeping Death. Oh my God. When you're at a stadium or an arena and everybody's singing the middle part of Creeping Death, man, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then it
Ride the
ends with
Lightning.
Call It Cthulhu.
And that's
Yeah,
great
great.
instrumental.
Yes.
Great
If
way
you
to close
notice,
the record.
Metallica has a lot of records have at least one instrumental.
The
on
first
there.
4 had one instrumental on each record, which I hate instrumentals, but man, when they would do them, it was just like something else.
It was
man.
different.
It
You had
did-
some
it put
classical
you on-
stuff in there, and
Yeah, it was like they put you on like a mental musical journey.
yes,
Like
it's like a
the
movie.
songs, they just went so many different places. It
Yep.
was never
Cinematic, very cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, they still play at least 3 of those songs in their live set. They're still strong songs. For Whom the Bell Tolls, man, I could hear it a billion times. I still love it. Like it just don't get old for me. It's so good. Yeah, man, just such a great record. All right, guys, moving on to number 3, 1988, And Justice for All. What you got, Damo?
Yeah, this was like their the record where they tried to, well, they actually did. They broke through to the mainstream, with the one video being their first video, and then I started seeing more people with Metallica T-shirts,
Yeah.
and stuff. But this personally is my favorite record, and it's probably one of my favorite albums of all time, just because I remember getting it at that time, and I was
Going through that age. You were that age.
I just went from like Bon Jovi and Cinderella being my favorite bands to Guns N' Roses being my favorite band, and then Metallica, when this came out, was like my favorite band. I was like obsessed with them. But man, Blackened is like
the best.
One of my favorite songs ever.
Yep.
If Harvester of Sorrow, Short of Straw, Dyer's Eve is a great one.
Very angry album.
Oh
yeah, definitely their meanest record, I think.
Yeah.
And you know what? I actually do like the sound of it. Maybe because I'm so used to it now.
Yeah.
This, it's probably the first one that I owned. But I always liked it, and I always thought it was way ahead of its time, because a lot of bands that came out in the 90s were using a lot of that sound, especially the drum sound. Like that's Vinnie Paul loved that sound, and that's pretty much Pantera's drum sound is what you hear on this, and even like the guitar tones and everything. And there's no bass, but I mean, go listen to the Injustice for Jason version on YouTube. Somebody overdubbed the bass. That's what I listened to.
Mike D, what do you got on Injustice for All?
Yeah, I'm going to, I mean, personally, this is my favorite. I'm not going to say it's their best one, but this is the one that was my introduction. And again, like back in the day, like Metallica had no radio play, no MTV play. It was just word of mouth. And, you would see them in the magazines and stuff like Metal Edge, Hit Parade, and stuff like that. And when this came out, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to buy it and see what it sounds like. And it was weird because the first time I played it, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I'm like, man, I don't get this. Because I was going from like David Lee Roth to this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I turned it off. And then maybe like a week later, I'm listening. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I think I get this. I'm like, this is pretty friggin' good. And at the time, like, I really didn't even realize there was like barely any bass in it at all.
Yeah. Right. I didn't realize until years after that,
Yeah. And what's crazy? Live, the bass was blaring on that tour.
Yeah, right.
Heavy as could be.
Yeah, the live mix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's loud, it's heavy. And Justice for All, man. It's an album I hold close because that's when I liked Metallica before that, but that really got me into Metallica even more. Like I said, first time I seen him, Monsters of Rock, it was right before that album came out. It was right before the album came out. And it's like you just knew they were going to break. I mean, a lot of people go, oh, the Black Album broke them as far as a household name, but Justice broke them for that community, the metal community.
Well, I mean, they did put their first video out too.
They did.
One.
Yeah. And they did it in the Metallica way. It was fucking big. It was an epic video.
And how creepy was that video? Too?
It was creepy. It was different.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie? I've never seen the movie. I can never find it.
No.
Johnny got his gun. That all those clips are from. About. I
don't know if I don't think it was a big movie, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was like a small film, but it was based on a book. Also, it's the song is about the movie, basically about a guy who goes to war and loses like his arms and his hands, and his arms and his legs, and can't speak.
Like a vegetable, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. What a freaking way to go.
Yeah,
and
it looks like a
if
dark
I'm ever
movie.
stuck in that position, man, I got to have a friend good enough to take me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yep. Man, yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite records. When it came out, I definitely became a Metallica nut at that point. The T-shirts were always awesome. Pusshead did the artwork, and even when they were just starting to break, and you've seen a lot of T-shirts at this point. It's like the artwork was so cool. They were the cool T-shirts to have, man. They were just that artwork was just amazing. It was head and shoulders above everything except maybe Iron Maiden. They were like the two best T-shirts were Metallica and Iron Maiden.
Pusshead did all the Misfit stuff, right?
Oh, I don't know. Did he? I didn't know that.
They found them from somewhere. I mean, I always knew that their artwork was kind of similar. I could be totally off on that, but
Yeah, I think I don't know if Glenn
Danzig.
Danzig actually put the artwork together originally, but maybe they had somebody else.
Yeah, let me see. Pushead. I mean, he does work for other bands, and you definitely know he's got that. I love that style, man. I loved his artwork was pretty cool.
I wish
Now,
they
he
would have brought
did,
him
Yeah,
back.
Misfits. He did.
Yeah, he
do
did?
Misfits.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
mean, he
know
did
that.
stuff for Misfits, Dr. Dre, Travis Barker, Rocket from the Crypt, Cool
Yeah.
Keith.
Yeah. Wrong.
That's crazy. Yeah, man, this album just puts Metallica in a league of their own. This separates them from everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's a great record. It was my first mosh pit I was ever in, was at that concert, and it was insane. It was just scary, insane. It was
I can
fucking,
imagine.
it was at the stadium at JFK. It was just like a swarm of bodies. It was crazy. Like, it was like, hang on, I don't know what the hell's going on. Just go with the flow.
People
It was
weren't
like
expecting that.
Dude, they were just, the whole crowd was just swaying. It was wild. It was wild, and they were great. They really were. All right, guys, moving on to the number 2 album, 1991, The Black Album. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, this is I mean, I mentioned it before. At the time I liked it, but what I didn't like was that all the people, like all the Guidos and the jocks and the people that used to make fun of me for wearing Metallica shirts or whatever, or liking the band, started liking them. And I was like, what the fuck, man? You guys were making fun of me last year, 2 years ago. And now you're all into them. But
Frat rock.
Yes, Metallica, the frat rock band.
But yeah, I mean,
you can go see Metallica and Dave Matthews together.
Yeah,
hopefully never.
This album was, it made them a household name. It made them the biggest band in the world. And I mean, the record's great. I mean, I never need to hear Enter Sandman ever again. But
Great song.
the rest of the album, it was amazing. I actually liked the 3 closing tracks, The God That Failed, My Friend in Misery, and Struggle Within. I think they're great underrated songs. It's my favorite sounding record of all time. I think I just love the sound, man. The guitars are super heavy, the drums are big, bass, nice and fat, and great vocal sound and everything. I love the background vocals. They're not like gang vocals, but they just sound so big and like a friggin' army.
Yeah.
But this is a great record. I mean, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yep. Mike D, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with Damien on this one. I mean, I never need to hear Sandman again, but you hear it at every sporting event now. And when this came out, like, I mean, you could kind of see the direction they were heading to. They were kind of getting more song oriented on the poppier side of it, like. But it was still Metallica. It still sounded like him. It was just like poppy radio songs, more or less.
They were still angry. I just think music was changing at that point.
Right.
If you listen to some of them songs, they sound like James doing his thing. It's just they took chances on this record.
Well, they realized that when they were playing live prior to the Black Album, they could only play a certain amount of songs because their songs were way too long.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to write like more. They wanted to kind of simplify everything, simplify the playing. Just concentrate on actual songs. Keep them around the 4 or 5 minute mark. I don't think they were just trying to write singles. I think they're just trying to like shorten the length of the songs a bit. And
I mean, I'm looking at the track list, and they're still not even that short.
I know, right?
Well, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minute songs.
Yeah.
It's like the basic, pop radio hits like what 3.5 minutes,
If that,
Right.
yeah. Yep. Man, there's no denying that this album's the one that really broke them. So many good songs. The vocals are great. Bob Rock's production. He's the best. He's just the best, standout tracks, Enter Sandman. I mean, we heard it a billion times, but it's still a great song. Sad But True. I love that song, and I love that this is where Lars got his signature. Fucking love it.
Those simple fills, yeah.
I love it. It's so good. If you would have asked me without us really analyzing the records, would the Black Album rank this high? I would have said it would have ranked a little lower. I was surprised it was this high, but it was this high. This was my number 2 also. So, there's no denying it. You just got to go back sometimes. We're so used to hearing Enter Sandman 1,000 times, and it's everywhere. If you really go back and listen to everything, you get a new respect for all of it, And the Black Album, it's unbelievable. So anybody thinks Metallica sold out. No, they just did what they did. They were just being a band, and it worked. And it worked.
They're tired of doing what they were doing, and guess what? All their peers, they followed suit.
Absolutely.
They all did.
The next Megadeth record, Countdown to Extinction.
Yeah, Anthrax.
Yeah.
The only one who didn't was Slayer, but
they're in their own thing.
Exodus did one around that time that was way lighter. They all did it.
They all did it.
Testament.
Oh yeah, Testament came out. Practice What You Preach. That was a little lighter. It had the ballad on there. They all did it. Metallica is the standard. That's the gold standard. That's the bar.
They're the leaders.
Deservingly.
The bar. Absolutely deservingly. That's whether even with the big 4, whatever, they're the daddies. They're the big daddies.
Yep.
They are.
Yeah. Everything else is debatable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I like Slayer, but I don't put on a Slayer record that often. And I like them, but I'm not like, yes, Yeah. I love it for what it is, and it's a mood thing. Where Testament, which I love Testament, with Testament, Anthrax, man, they rank high for me. Like Anthrax is right under Metallica.
Yeah.
For
me too. Yeah.
And then Megadeth. And Megadeth ranks pretty high too, but Anthrax is they're consistent, and they still sound like Anthrax.
Yeah.
All right, guys, moving on to the number 1 spot. Came out in 1986. Master of Puppets. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, I mean, it's, their greatest album, probably the greatest of that genre. Everybody says it's probably the best thrash record ever.
Definitely.
Ever released. I mean, every song is a classic, I actually like, Leper Messiah.
It's a great one, yeah.
Yeah. Orion or I don't know. Orion, I guess. It's
a masterpiece.
A masterpiece, man. An absolute masterpiece.
Yep.
This great record, great sounding record. I mean, sounding way better than the first 2. It's just absolutely perfect,
Yeah, I agree. Mike D.
Yeah, and this was another one of those ones I really didn't hear like when it first came out, because again, I was too young, and you just didn't hear that. But I didn't hear this until after the Black Album, so it was kind of like back then. I didn't really, not that I didn't like it, because there were songs in there I liked, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I appreciate it now.
Yeah,
so to say. But it's, man, just I'm like, even back then when they were doing this stuff, man, you could hear that they could play their instruments. They weren't just some scrub band.
No. So. Yep. Man, I said on a different episode that Appetite was my favorite record of all time. So if Appetite's my favorite record of all time, this is definitely second. Definitely number 2. If not
really?
Number 1.
So Kiss is at number 1 or 2. Wow.
Kiss might be 3 or 4. I mean, even though it's my favorite band. I mean, it's definitely Appetite for Destruction, followed by Master of Puppets, are probably my 2 favorite albums ever. It's just, it's perfect. They're both perfect.
Yeah.
They're both perfect. I mean, you have Sanitarium. You have Thing That Should Not Be.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Damage Incorporated, Leper Messiah, Orion. It's just the whole record it's unbelievable, and it still holds up. And Master of Puppets, the riff to Master of Puppets might be the greatest metal riff of all time.
Yeah.
It's just so good. It's got such an energy. And I mean, this is one of the greatest records of all time. Definitely.
Yep.
So, guys, we have the Black Album 30th anniversary coming out. It'll probably be tomorrow by the time this airs. And yeah, let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. You know, maybe you'll get a t-shirt. We'll see what happens. Mixtapes and tasty cakes. We'll see you guys next week.